I think we can all agree when it comes to PlayStation, this last generation, it's been very, very obvious that they have changed their approach to the PlayStation's 5. Obviously, a shitload of live service games, which has not gone well at all. We've had games like Concord. Fair Games is supposedly still coming out. We've got that new Horizon live service game that nobody asked for. And you could obviously say it's down to Jim Ryan. We remember him saying a while back that they were at one point working on 7 live service games. And with anyone with the brain, at the time, you're like, you are hoping that you grab the attentions of people who are going to spend a lot of time on those games. If they have a shitload of games, how are you supposed to capture the audience from people who love live service games, such as Fortnite, for example? Like, there's only so many of that audience you can capture. That is why, for years, it's worked with story-driven games when it came to PlayStation. It's what they built their reputation on. That's not to mention that live service can't work. We've had Helldivers 2, a hell of an amazing live service game. I know it's not entirely from PlayStation, but it's been a bit of a hit and miss generation. We've had cancelled live service games from Ben Studio, from Blue Point Games. They even cancelled and closed down that damn studio that made Demon Souls. So it makes you think, what was different in this generation? There's just been an article here about Yoshida, who has been at PlayStation for a very, very long time. And he's currently running the Indies initiative with Sony. But can you believe this article? I can't believe it, because supposedly this is why he got sacked. Jim Ryan, of all people, fired him because it says, I didn't listen to him. Makes you understand Jim Ryan was trying to probably implement some stupid ideas now that we've seen come to light. Obviously, you got Herman Hulst, who should be fired as well. It says right here, he asked to do some ridiculous things. The former PlayStation lead Yoshida has revealed more on the story in which he switched from the president of Sony Interactive Worldwide Studios to Boston Indies Initiative. Speaking during an ALT Games panel, an Australian video games festival, Yoshida recounted his career and shared that he was fired from his role by Jim Ryan because he didn't listen to him. He then continued, he asked to do some ridiculous things and I said no. I helped Santa Monica to make God of War, Naughty Dog to make Uncharted and The Last of Us, and Sucker Punch to make the beautiful Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima was one of the last games that I worked on as the president of Worldwide Studios. Reading this right now, it makes you think this guy knew what he was doing. He just said right there, he was responsible for helping getting these games up and running. And it just makes you think, what switch did we get when he left and Jim Ryan took over? But in 2019, after 11 years leading the first party development, I was fired from the role. Jim Ryan wanted to remove me from first party because I didn't listen to him. He asked to do some ridiculous things and I said no. Wow. He was replaced by PlayStation Studios lead Herman Hulst. Oh my gosh, look at that. Yoshida was replaced by the current PlayStation Studios Herman Hulst, who moved over from leading role at Horizon developer Guerrilla Games. Yoshida was made the lead of a new indies initiative within PlayStation, a position he has repeatedly praised in the time since he left the company. And no offense, when we talk about Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst, they're probably the two, or currently Herman Hulst should be sacked because they're the two that are leading, or are leading the live service trend. And it's just been an absolute bonfire of disasters. Like, in itself, Concord, the amount of money they spent on that, thinking this is going to be the next big thing. I feel like in the gaming industry, this is where we've gone wrong. Jim Ryan states that he didn't listen to him because he obviously didn't like what he was saying and he refused to kind of go with what he was saying. So in other words, he wasn't a yes man. I don't know too much of exactly what he was like, but what's happened in the last few years of gaming? We've had developers, we've had employees. They have this weird mentality where you can't criticize the project you're on. You look at Rocksteady. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Was no one big enough to come out and say, this is not going to work. This is bad. This is going to be absolutely terrible. Concord, it's like we had reports of that false positivity around the game when if you had someone who was not a yes man, then you might not have come to this point. But it makes you think just because he disagreed with him, Jim Ryan was like, nope, I'm going to go with this approach. You either listen or basically you're fired. But it just shows you what the absolute hell has been going on since he left, and why we've got so many live service games, and now we just know that they are regretting what they're doing. Like, we've still got that Horizon game to come out. Absolutely, like, nobody wants this. He was replaced by the current Herman Hulst, who moved over from a leading role, as we just spoke about. During the panel, Yoshida reiterated his love for the role. I really enjoyed the role of promoting and evangelizing indie games. He's doing a similar thing now with his own consulting firm, adding, I was helping indie publishers and developers at Sony for the last 5 years, so I feel like I'm continuing to do the same kind of thing, but now I'm freelance. Good for him, man, because at least he doesn't have someone to tell him what to do. Yoshida's latest comments on his internal switch from the head honcho to indies lead with PlayStation back up what he said in the past. Previous interviews and posts have revealed how Yoshida was effectively given the decision to take up the indies role or leave the company. Wow, man. To be honest, just bring him back. Get rid of Herman Hulst, please, and bring him back. However, the indie roles was created specifically for him, as Jim Ryan knew he cared deeply for the space. So I really appreciated Jim doing that, and I really appreciate his suggestion to do this indie work and the position he created. I really don't think anything bad about Jim. If anything, I'm really grateful for how he had helped and supported me for the past 4 years. It's crazy because he sounds like a decent guy. You feel like someone who's been like head of PlayStation for quite that long, you think they would have that attitude where they're like, wow, you want to get rid of me? I'm gone. But the fact that he still remained under Sony Interactive, and he still is today as a freelance, is incredible. But it just makes you think this is where we went wrong in terms of Sony and their approach. It's like, why did they make that switch? And I say it every time about 2019 onwards, with the lockdowns and everything going, it wasn't a real indication of the gaming industry. Millions of people were at home. Millions of people took up gaming. It was the way to socialize. And they didn't think that this was not real life. They didn't think that people would want to go back to socializing. And that's where you had all of those companies spend millions and millions of pounds investing into gaming. And then what do you get? You got the live service trend that has been absolutely abysmal. But I just find it interesting that he's come out and said that, because I feel like Herman Hulst needs to go, man. He needs to go. Jim Ryan, I feel like he was definitely pushed out the door, because basically what he decided to do when you had a winning formula. It's crazy when you think about it, because it feels like so many companies, they get to a point on how well they do. PlayStation were known for story-driven games. You thought, that is our bread and butter. And I do understand they make a shitload of money with microtransactions from Roblox and Fortnite. They take a percentage, and I get it, they make millions, but was it worth wasting millions and millions of pounds on these live service games that have not even seen the light, with Bench Studio, with Blue Point Games that have been shut down, with all the other ones that have been shut down and cancelled, or the ones from Naughty Dog, the ones from Insomniac? That you're telling me like this was kind of worth it, even if you thought if one takes off? And we've still got fair games coming out. So I just hope going into the PS6, which again, I still think it's too early, because we want more games. I hope they just go back to what they were so good at doing. Make story-driven games. Don't rely on players to play your game. I forgot to mention Marathon. That has been met with an underwhelming amount of players on both PC and PlayStation. And to think majority of the players playing are from Steam, and hardly anyone has bought the game on PlayStation. I think that game would have benefited a hell of a lot if it had a freaking campaign. And you know what? Just bring him back. Probably he's freelance now, obviously. We'd just love to know more details of the ridiculous things. And I think it's down to live service. I'm trying to think of what else it would have been. I think it would have been like, yes, all right, we're doing all of these single player campaign games. We need to focus on live services, spend millions. And he's probably like, why? What do you think about this interview from Yoshida? Do you think it's because of the live service trend? Do you think he should come back? Do you think Herman Hulst should go? I think most people think he should, but do you think that's one of the reasons Jim Ryan left as well? I just find it very interesting. So drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know, and hit the like button. We're trying to make it full-time. We're part-time for the past 4 years, but we're getting there. So I'll see you soon.